All right. Hello. Episode of the Hammercast. I am joined once again by my old pal, Pat Flynn. And we're going to be talking about training and gaining while you are out of town or on vacation. And you know what? As luck would have it, that is actually pretty salient for both of us. So we will dive deep into that. Before we do, I'm going to, of course, remind you, gentle and dear listener, to pick up my 9-minute kettlebell and bodyweight challenge if you have not already implies. It only takes 9 minutes to do, and it will help you to move and lift the way that you were made, not the way that you've decayed. For more information, which I know you're chomping at the bit to get, just go to 9minutechallenge.com and it is yours. And if I have to tell you that it is the number 9minutechallenge.com and not NINE, then I don't even want you to get it. So I hope you're well aware of how to spell the website name. All that condescension aside, Pat, welcome back, first of all, to the podcast, and second of all, from Florida, where you spent the last week, if I recall.
Week and a half. Thank you. It's good to be back, Alex. It's really good to be back. A little colder here in Wisconsin, but we're doing all right. We're doing all right.
Now, where exactly were you in Florida? You don't have to
Oh,
give like.
wouldn't you like to know? Always nosing into my business.
I know I'm very into gossip, so I must know these things.
Yeah, well, I suppose now I'm not there anymore and I don't have to worry about a mob of obsessed customers descending upon me. I can reveal the secret location. We were, in fact, in the great territory of Navarre, and that is at the Panhandle, kind of by Pensacola. And it was fine. It was good. It was just nice. It was just nice.
Yeah. And now I take it you didn't go to Hulk Hogan's restaurant. That's in Clearwater, isn't it?
I wanted to do one thing and one thing only. I wanted to go to Hogan's Hangout. If I was going to Florida, it had better be for that. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to do it because Florida is actually a pretty dang big state. You forget how big that state is. You always do. I always forget how big that state is. And I think if I go to one place in Florida, I can just go see all the sites. And that's definitely not true. So we were way too far from that. Didn't get the Hogan's Hangout. But that just means we'll have to make another trip.
Absolutely. You said you were in the Panhandle, so like, did you guys get any beach time in, or was it just basically enjoying being in Florida?
No, the weather was pretty crap. So I want Florida to send me my money back. Because we were in Wisconsin, so that's sort of the allure. It wasn't totally terrible. It was like mid 60-ish, some kind of sunny sometimes, but definitely not like warm enough for the whole beach scene. But to be honest, I'm not that disappointed because I'm not like a huge beach guy. Anyways, like you put me on a beach and like within half an hour I'm bored and I want to go do something else.
Yeah, I went to a beach with a friend when I was in Israel in like June, and it's like I had no plans to get in the water, so all we were doing is like sitting on the sand, and I was like, why do people do this? Like,
It beats me, dude.
yeah, it just, I mean, the beaches are great, they're very cool, but it's just, I don't know, like the whole thing to me, it's like there's a level of put all of your stuff. Hopefully you find a locker or someplace that you can store your belongings, for instance. Mm-hmm. And then if it's hot enough out, you got this like metal locker cooking your phone and your electric, your key fob for your car, right, and all this other stuff. And you just got to hope it's not going to destroy all your belongings because you wanted to gallivant in the sea.
Yeah, so I've never been a huge beach guy. As you know, I hail from the great village of Pennsylvania, and there's this cultural thing in Pennsylvania where, like, every summer, the thing is to go to the shore. You go to the shore, and really that's like the Jersey Shore. And what you do is you essentially just go to the shore, to the beach, and families will haul out a whole bunch of crap, try to get to the beach super early because if you don't, you like won't have a spot on sand. It literally gets that crowded, at least the hot spots. And then you just sit there and cook for hours upon hours upon hours. And a lot of my family was into it. A lot of my friends' families were into it. So it was, in some sense, a sort of inescapable torture for me. And it was a torture. I never liked it. I like the ocean. I like seeing it for a little bit. I don't know, man. I just sitting around. Just maybe I just have. Maybe what's the term now? People are neurodivergent. Maybe I'm just too neurodivergent to just sit on sand for hours at a time. Like I just need to be doing something. You know what I mean?
I don't think that's what people mean when they say neurodivergent. Just call it a hunt. But you know what? Given the fact that you didn't know that, maybe you are. Who knows?
Yeah. No, I'm going with it.
Yeah, well, that's going to be the new theme for the show is Pat's neurodivergent podcast.
Everyone on Instagram, this is the thing, right? Is like there's some new term that comes around, and now everybody is that thing, right? I don't know if maybe you don't pay enough attention to Instagram, but every other story is people talk about how because of their neurodivergence, this thing or that thing, right? I can't sit and read a whole book, or I constantly obsess over what's going on in the fitness literature or something like that. So, anyways, I'm taking it for my own purposes, and it's done.
That I can respect, actually. You know, just taking advantage of a brand new term so that you can make an excuse to, for why you do things or why you don't do things, as long as you're not virtue signaling. That's the one thing I don't like, because it sounds like the people you're talking about on Instagram are doing that. Like, rather than admitting that the reason that they can't like pay attention while reading a book is because they spend so much time distracting themselves with like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all this other stuff, that would be a lot more honest than trying to say that you've got some sort of, is just not the case.
Right. Neither here nor there, though. But virtue signaling on Instagram, never heard of that before. So yeah, back from Florida, and I suppose that the theme we want to explore today is how does one keep fit and trim and healthy and strong when they are not in their usual routine? Is that correct, Alex?
I think it would be a very good thing to talk about, because I get no shortage of questions about these things when people online go traveling. They want to know, what should I do in place of the regular routine? And there are actually answers. So I think we should dive into at least a couple of them.
Yeah. So let's do it. So the first thing I always say, because like you, Alex, I have many clients who are, they're jet setters, we might say. So they're traveling a fair bit. And I also have many clients that aren't jet setters, but travel frequently enough and always have this question: hey, how should I train when I'm on the road if I don't have access to the normal equipment, or whatever, or time, or whatever, if I'm in like a car for many hours a day or whatever. And so the first thing I always say is, principles first, because it's principles that would matter more than anything, right? If you're not clear on the principles, then the details and specifics they're never going to be appropriately contextualized. So, what are the principles for general health and fitness? Well, they're pretty few, and they're pretty simple. It's something like, hey, resistance train and use progressive overload, somewhere between like 2 to 4 times per week. Try to consume like your lean body weight in protein per day. Try to eat an array of colorful fruits and vegetables. Try to limit, as far as possible, hyper palatable foods, standard American diet type of fare. Try to get outside for a nice daily brisk walk if you can do it. If something is tight, stretch it. Get to bed at a reasonable hour and try to get 7 to 9 hours of sleep each night. And as far as possible, try to surround yourselves with like-minded individuals who are going to encourage and inspire and support your fitness pursuits rather than try and constantly take you down. Okay, so those to me are like the basic principles. And the truth is, most of us on a program are going to come into a situation where life happens. We have to travel, or something comes about where the usual routine is just thrown off. And we don't have that sort of predictability that we've always had. But that's okay, because almost always, if you understand the principles, you can find some way to apply them. It might not be with the same specifics that you were doing, but it's definitely the case that some application is better than no application at all, even if it's not the same application. So, for example, when I was in Florida, this is kind of coming towards the end of a protocol I'm doing right now that has a lot of dumbbell and barbell work and kettlebell work in it. And we just didn't have that in Florida. We brought like 2 kettlebells, and that's about it. But that's okay, because I realized, hey, here's a principle. Try to resistance train, a couple times per week. I don't have to use the dumbbells or barbells. I can do push-ups. I can sprint. I can do hollow holds. We brought an ab wheel. I can do ab wheel. I can do, all those calisthenics, did pull-ups, all that sort of thing. No problem. Florida's, even though it wasn't the most beautiful weather, still significantly warmer than Wisconsin. So, hey, walking, great. There's some mahi down here. I'll eat that. Some corn. I'll have a little bit of corn. And I did. It was good corn. And, I was with my family, who generally do not try to sabotage my health efforts, but are pretty supportive of it, which is not an insignificant factor, right? Getting your family on board, I think, is actually really important. I think you should do it because you care about your family, but obviously for yourself, like, just working against your family just seemed like it would be a nightmare. So anyways, long story short, Alex, is like my program shifted pretty dramatically, but I kept the principles in practice. And it's true that, yeah, I didn't progress and wouldn't progress as much as I would if I had all the specifics that I do at home. But I was still able to get the basic principles in, that I felt good, had great training sessions, will definitely be useful for maintenance. In fact, I was able to practice some things I hadn't practiced in a while. And truth be told, it was like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, which in the grand scheme of things is literally nothing anyway. So deviations like that a couple times a year are just really not a big deal. And another thing I'll just say real quick is just people need that sense of perspective, right? Sometimes people think it's going to be the end of the world, right? If I don't have my gym for a week and a half or 2 weeks. And the truth is that's just definitely false, right? Assuming that's just a couple times per year, I mean, it's just not going to make a difference as long as you're consistent the vast majority of the time elsewhere. So okay, there's my opening gambit. Alex, take it from there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, one thing that you pointed out that I thought was interesting, and actually I think is really the crux of the whole issue, is that if you're going to be gone, like, a couple about traveling, or not traveling, but rather training when you travel. But if it's something like, 10 days to, 2 weeks, like what you were referring to, I think it does make sense to try to plan something out. And one of the things I'm finding, because I'm in Israel for 2 months, I've got another couple of weeks here, is that I had to completely scrap what I was doing while I was in the States. In fact, even a couple of times here, my plans, because what I'm doing to train now is time intensive enough where trying to make the trek, like, to and from a gym is tough enough, but even to and from, like, the park that I would prefer to train in, like, the total is a round trip of like 30 minutes. So it's like 15 minutes there and 15 minutes back. So there are certain things, you talked about the principles, which I think is very important. I think the next thing you have to look at is the strategies. So you have to ask yourself, okay, can I really afford, like, a long commute to a gym or someplace that I would like to work out? And in most cases, I mean, maybe you can. Maybe if you don't have anything else planned, if you're not working while you're on vacation, okay, so you just do whatever you want. But for me, I've had to think about, okay, do I really want to go add 30 minutes of just walking into my day, which is, again, not a terrible thing, but it's eating up a lot of time. So I've had closest parks that I can go to train in, scrapped weight training. And one of the things that I've been doing is using this as an opportunity to start working on things that I haven't either never done or that I haven't done in a long time, like what you mentioned. Mm-hmm. And because everybody has a tendency to gravitate toward the things that they like and are good at and are obsessing over in terms of their workouts, it only makes sense to try to fill some gaps every once in a while. Most people come to the realization that they need to do that. So one of the things that I've been working on is a lot more band training, meaning using rubber bands to try to add resistance to various different, let's say, foundational calisthenics moves, as well as just being very creative with what I can do. So, like, one of the things that I came up with, I was very happy with, is I took my a strap from my gymnastics rings, attached it to a sturdy fence, and then I would use that to do stuff like degree glute ham raises, oblique crunches, and that sort of a thing. Even kind of like a variation on the Roman chair sit-up. And so these are, again, all things that I either very rarely do or haven't practiced, long enough to have really gotten very good at them. I've already noticed a big difference. Same thing. I'm greasing the groove with push-ups because I thought, you know what, why not? I can drop down, do push-ups whenever I want. And so I'm doing stuff maybe I've known about, maybe I've thought about, but I've never really done. And I'm already noticing that, in spite of the fact that I don't have access to the kettlebells that I would normally have at home, I'm getting more muscular, I'm getting leaner, and I'm getting stronger. So the big takeaway is that you never want to take something like this and just throw it away and say, well, I'm just not going to train, for 2 weeks or 2 months or something like that, just because I don't have the exact equipment I need. I remember, in fact, years ago when I was still living here, my parents and brother came to visit me. We were traveling all over the place, and I was training for my level 2 recertification at the time, kettlebell recertification. Didn't have access to any of my kettlebells, so I had to get very creative with the bodyweight stuff that I did. And over the course of just a few days that I didn't have access to my kettlebells, when I went back to my kettlebell training, I noticed that everything, because even just that few days of filling in some gaps and doing some stuff I didn't normally do had made a huge, huge difference. So the big takeaway is that a lot of times that time away from your regular routine is actually a blessing to show you what you can do to long-term help improve your strength and maybe make you a little bit more bulletproof as well.
Yeah, brilliant lad. And I want to just echo a few of those points. It's true that, sometimes just taking a little bit of time off from what you're usually doing to fill gaps really does. Like, you'll come back, you'll notice like a lot of things just sort of snapped into place, and like, oh wow, even though I haven't done this in a week and a half or 2 weeks, now I just feel a lot stronger at pressing or squatting. Part of that might just be getting some extra recovery, but another part of it is quite, plausibly what you just said. Like, you're able to focus on some deficiencies and fill some gaps and sort of knit everything together in a better way. That is definitely true. And I also want to emphasize again, it's one thing if you're traveling for like a day, right? And it's like, okay, yeah, you could just take the day off and go for a walk, no big deal, right? But if you are, traveling for a week or longer or something like that, I think it is very, very prudent to try and go in with some type of strategy. And again, like, even if you kind of know the principles, like the back of your hand, it helps to just have something, in your mind ahead of time, so that we just don't waste energy trying to figure something out on the spot, is what I'm saying. It's always good to go in with some sort of a plan, even if it needs to be a flexible or adjustable one. Like, even when I was going to Florida, I had a general idea of the sorts of things that I was going to do. Right. So yeah, have a general strategy, and also kind of be honest, be like, hey, I really haven't worked on my hamstring flexibility or mobility in a while. Maybe this would be a good time for me to do that, especially since that takes very little equipment. And then, speaking of equipment, Alex, I think you mentioned some really good travel options. Bands, great. Ab wheel, great. We brought the massage gun. I'm a big fan of the massage gun, just do some extra tissue and mobility work, especially when you're in the car. Oh man, dude. So like, usually the car just like makes you feel talk about feeling decayed and decrepit. But I just got that massage gun going, just really loosened myself up, tried to make as productive use of the car time as I could, and a few kettlebells. And that was really about all you need, right? You can get a lot of mileage from a couple things, and we fit that, let it be known, gentle listeners, into the Chrysler Pacifica with 5 children. That thing could not have been more full, but we still were able to accommodate. Had my guitar in there, the kettlebells, the ab wheel, and the band. So if we could fit it in, almost certainly you can as well. So yes, good.
Awesome. The real question is, did you manage to fit Lola in, or did she stay in Wisconsin?
No, she's staying with Aaron, buddy Aaron.
Okay, good. I think I was gonna say that would probably be just like a bridge too far.
Can you believe that thing? Can you believe she's still doing good, man?
I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, of course, yes. But in case people don't know, I have a neurodivergent dog. Her name is Lola, and she is a Saint Bernard. And she's 11 years old now, which is like way beyond life expectancy for Saint Bernards, but everything's looking good. Must be all that creatine I feed her.
I was gonna say it was either that or the Bush Light. I guess. I guess
Got to
there's
mix it
always
with something.
exactly. Like eat the creatine powder by itself. You got to have something to wash it down with.
Of course.
Yeah,
But no, she
good.
did not come on this trip. Sometimes we do stuff her in the van, and it's very interesting when we try to do that. But we have made it work. Creativity.
Good. Well, I'm very happy to hear that she's doing well, and send your kids and your wife my regards. I would say send Lola my regards, but she's neurodivergent. She's just not going to understand. Just it's beyond her. She has no speaking capabilities. She's not going to get it. But give her an extra Bush Light on me. That she'll at least know came from me. So good.
Will do, my man. Will do. And hope people enjoyed these little tidbits, little takeaways today. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say on the matter. Do good and be good.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you've got a minimalist abs program. Are you brushing your beard in preparation to talk about your minimalist ab program?
You actually just totally froze up there, and
I
didn't hear a word.
Did I? Can you hear me? But you can hear me now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, because from my end, what I asked was, I was like, yeah.
Why is he?
It was just like a dramatic pause.
You gotta ignore my question and brush his
beard.
beard.
Your Ted Kaczynski beard. Yes, exactly. But tell us about minimalist abs before we sign off.
First off, I'm gonna make sure I do that on an interview. It's got to be like an interview with somebody I've never done before. They'll ask me a question, and I'll just won't respond, but I'll just take out the beard comb and let them make the first move.
And then, of course,
you see how quickly I get invited back.
No, then they got to be like, "Did you freeze?"
I'll just be no.
They'll be like, "Did I freeze?" or something like that, because they're thinking like he surely wouldn't stop the interview to comb his beard unless there was some technological thing. And then you'd be like, "No, I heard you. Just let me think about my response." And then you got to count to like 30 very slowly in your head, and then you give the response.
And tell them I'm neurodivergent.
Yeah, brilliant. Pure brilliance.
Anyways, the definitive guide to minimalist ab training. You are correct, good sir. And the title is exactly as it says. It is the definitive guide to minimalist ab training. And what does that mean? Well, it means that if you want those hard cut, blocky abs that actually perform as well as they look, then you should do exercises that are actually useful for direct ab training. And we focus on just the fundamental series of leg lift variations, hollow holds, ab wheel rollouts, all that good greasy stuff. And we put it in context of a general training program for general strength and conditioning, and what I think is a very powerful approach to eating for getting rid of body fat, because that obviously matters if you want to actually see the abs that you're working on developing. And if people are interested in that, they can check it out at chroniclesofstrength.com/ab training, chroniclesofstrength.com/ab training.
Well, you heard the man. Go check it out. You have been warned. If you don't do it, I'm going to find out. And believe me, when my screen stops freezing, I'm going to come after you. So thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you, Alex. Always a joy.
And folks, as always, have fun and happy training.